Conversation, live from Nicaragua. Dive deep into the world of coffee with co-founders of Twin Engine Coffee, Andrea Wolverton and Colin Ganley.
Welcome to Brewing Conversation. This is Season 0, Episode 5. My name is Andrea Wolverton.
And I'm Colin Ganley, and today we're talking about living in Nicaragua. What's it like to live in Nicaragua? We touched on this a little bit in the last episode, but we wanted to kind of give a deeper explanation of what it's actually like to live here. I mean, one of the first things that attracted us is the warm weather.
Right. So for coffee lovers, some of the terminology that's used in coffee land is origin, right? Everything's origin right now. So we are living at origin, and Nicaragua has some pretty... so it's warm. It's warm, but it also has some different geography. So we currently live pretty low elevation where we roast, and all of the coffees are coming from the highest elevations of Nicaragua in different regions. So that creates some nice diversity in the different regions that are just north of us.
I mean, globally speaking, the temperature doesn't change much throughout the year. You know, of course, people will tell you that it changes dramatically, but we're talking about 7 degrees Celsius and 12 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right. So like our whole orientation towards seasons has changed. I mean, when we first moved here, this idea that winter was when the rain came and it was still 80 something degrees or 90. It was like, what? But now we really look forward to the rainy season, and we do try to find an opportunity to wear a sweater or go north and get a sweater season.
Yeah, but there is a huge variation within the country. I mean, where we live is one of the hottest places. And so it's regularly over 100 degrees here. Right now we're in the cool part of the year, so it's pretty comfortable. It's only getting into the high 80s, mid 80s during the middle of the day.
Most people in Leon live without air conditioning. I mean, virtually everyone lives without air conditioning and maybe has one, like a few people have some in their home, but it's very open air. So you really start to change your daily rhythms around the heat. We start to really understand why there's this siesta.
There were a number of things that we had to adjust to when we moved here. One, I guess probably the most visible one was language, right?
Yeah, we haven't really talked much about that issue in any of the previous episodes. It's just kind of assumed at the moment. But I mean, Nicaragua, on average, there's very little English spoken here. I mean, if anyone has been to Costa Rica, Nicaragua is just north of Costa Rica, south of Honduras. One might extrapolate that, there must be a lot of English spoken there, but there's very little.
Yeah, almost none. Almost none.
I mean, I would say almost none unless you're in a business in Managua.
Yeah, it's really just foreign-facing businesses where people speak English. I mean, Spanish is the language that we use with all of our employees, all of our partners, all of our customers here, with the government, with whomever, everyone, basically every single person we have to interact with here.
And so, so that proved to be pretty comical, was because I was doing most of the government work, and we did not hire lawyers to do a lot of things for us. So it was Andrea going in and working with different government.
Didn't you accidentally swear at our neighbors?
Well, so
for weeks at a time.
When we first got here, I mean, I had started studying Spanish when I was younger, in that way you do when you're not immersed. And then when I was at FAO, I was doing an exchange, and so in DC, I was doing an exchange, and so. But it's so different when you're immersed, and so we had this house, and we rented this house, and we just moved here, and we had a Weimaraner. It was pretty big, it's about 80 pounds, and he would, just go outside and run around in the neighborhood in the mornings. And that wasn't typical of these big dogs. And a lot of people are scared of dogs here. And so there were these two older ladies who would pass by every morning in the neighborhood on their walk. And there was the front porch, and Duke would run outside. And I had been learning. I was in intensive. I did about 3 months of intensive Spanish classes, and I was empowered with my new Spanish skills. And I would run out and I would say, "Oh, no, no tiene mierda, no tiene mierda." Because I thought that's how you said, don't be scared, don't have fear, literal translation. And so these two ladies, and this went on for weeks. And they would look back at me and kind of look at me funny and smile. And I was like, why don't they smile? Like, why is it weird? And then so somebody one day, I guess somebody who was working with us said, "Andrea, it's no tenga miedo. You've been telling those ladies that you don't have shit for like 3 weeks." So that was pretty funny. So in fact, their neutral response to me was a great response, considering what I had been saying to them for quite some time.
Yeah, and that's probably an exaggerated example of what happened in daily life.
It was definitely the one where I knew I had been. I mean, I'm sure I'm saying a lot of things. I just learned recently, actually, that I have been saying affecto when I was thinking effecto, which is actually affection instead of effect. And so I've been telling a lot of people that I have affection when I'm trying to say something is affecting something. So it's not perfect. It's a journey, as they say.
Yeah, the language has been somewhat interesting because we're fluent at this point, but it's an evolving process. We're fluent, but we're not great at Spanish, and so there's constantly things that we're learning, vocabulary, how to say things, etc. And that's been a journey. And
so much of it is not even the actual words. It's a concept. In one case, it's a concept of time. So after 6 years, I still don't really. It's not so clear how to say right now, like I'm leaving right now, or I need something right now, because it's the concept is very different from someone with a different background. And so that is a lot of comedy right there.
Yeah. One of the things that we enjoy most about living here is the access to nature, because we're not in Managua, we're in León, which has... It's a relatively small city. I think they say that there are 200,000 people in the city, which makes it the second largest in the country. But the ocean is 15 minutes away, and you're never more than about 10 minutes away from a farm or a field or nice places to hike or take the dog for a walk or for kids to play. And there are a lot of parks and things like that. And people don't helicopter that much over their kids, which is nice. It's a more relaxed way of letting kids play. I think that's pretty enjoyable.
And really embrace other people's children. So Lucille is going to be 4 in December. And now, basically, if we're going to go somewhere and eat, we'll just find her. She just goes up to someone else's table, and then they invite her to sit with, especially, if they have a young child as well.
Or if they have cookies.
Yeah, well, yeah. Chocolate, cookies. She's quite clever in finagling people's cookies away from them. But anyhow, she'll just be over there, and all of a sudden Lucille's having her own social outing. That's nothing to do with us.
Yeah, there's a coffee shop that I go to a lot called Pani Paz here in León, and I'll take Lucille there, and sometimes I'll meet with someone or I'll start talking to somebody, and she'll just walk over to other people's tables because all the cappuccinos are served with a little sugar cookie on the side. And so she'll go up to people and try to cleverly, smile and be nice to them and ask them if they're going to have the cookie.
Yeah. So 20 cookies later, we go home. I mean, so also living here, the interaction in terms of coffee, it's hard to even explain because we're just kind of in the middle. So in the terms of, people say, oh, where do you get your coffee? Who do you work with, et cetera. We're friends. It's not like we go to some country and we visit it for a little while and we buy something from people. We are friends. Our families visit each other from farmers in the north. And so it's as well as everyone we work with. So it's more about being the fabric of society. And so talking about what's going on this year and the rain, I mean, it's kind of like more talking about my dad and growing up on the farm. So you're talking about the rain, what's going on, how's it affecting the fruits, etc. And so just being part of that is a completely different feeling than just, visiting someone and shaking their hand a few times a year.
And we wanted to, we'll get into this more in actually the next episode, but one of the things we wanted to do was to change the coffee culture in Nicaragua a little bit. I know that can sound, like outsiders coming in and trying to change things, but everyone has been very receptive to how we wanted to do that. What we wanted to do is, instead of what everyone else does, which is buy the best coffee from Nicaragua and export it, then roast it in their own country and serve it to their friends, what we wanted to do was make that same highest quality coffee available locally. And living here and by being here, we're able to do that because navigating the roads of making a product available locally means that you need to have all the same health department certifications, etc., that you would have to have in another country, but here. And it takes days and hours and money and all the things that it takes in order to make sure that you are able to participate as a member of the local community. And that was important to us because it wasn't available before.
Well, and one of the coolest, I think, anecdotes that I try to communicate with people that don't live here is that farmers have never been in the same country that their coffee is sold roasted. So do you know what I mean? So the farmers are going to restaurants, they're going to the store, and they're able to buy their own or see their own. They're actually able to speak to people who are drinking their coffee.
Right.
And that's a completely unique concept because coffee is not consumed where coffee is grown,
right?
Period, on average. And so it's this really interesting concept that, I mean, most people don't even know that dynamic exists or doesn't exist, this connection to your own coffee. And so being part of that and being part of that shift is really neat. Yeah.
So I would say in conclusion, living here in Nicaragua to start this coffee company it's been an adventure. It's been interesting learning the legal system and how to make things function here and be successful. But it comes along with a lot of rewards with the nature, the weather, the people, things like that, and really the amazing coffee that's available here. So I think in hindsight, generally.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, people look at, especially expats, they're like, oh, it's like they just have a list and they could live in a lot of different places. I mean, these countries are all quite different from each other in many ways. And I think this is, now it's hard to not be biased because we are part of this community. So it has been good to us, and we've, struggled together. We're having success together, and so it's part of us and really non-separable.
So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next podcast.
This has been Brewing Conversation with Andrea Wolverton and Colin Ganley. Thank you for listening. For more connection to coffee and Twin Engine Coffee, go to twinenginecoffee.com or email us. We'd love to hear from you.